I have this client who is considering doing a career change, but he doesn't know exactly what he wants to do yet. He has some ideas. However, he has put himself in a financial position where he can do so, at least take a little time off. He's young, he's healthy, he's smart. He doesn't have any responsibilities as far as dependence at this time. And honestly, really the world is his oyster. Um, but we have been working through whether he wants to actually make this leap or not. And it made me think about why change can be so scary for us, even when it's something we really want or something that even quote unquote seems like an obvious choice. Um, Yet it still feels so difficult for us to do it. And, like me on the outside looking in at his situation, I'm like, heck yes, go. He's thinking about taking some time off and traveling the world and kind of, doing a little bit of eat, pray, love, and then coming home and, starting something for himself. And so exciting. And he's young, he can do it, and even if you're, by society standards, maybe a little bit older, you can still do it. But he's just so many boxes checked off as to why. But, there's still this fear.
Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Alignment Podcast, where high performers come to grow without stress, shame, or burning out. I'm Mintu Lam, and I'm here to help you work smarter, live fuller, and feel like yourself again. If you're tired of running on empty, book your complimentary assessment call at higheralignmentconsulting.com/program, and let's figure out what's draining your energy and what you can do to start feeling happy and peaceful once again. You can find the link in the show notes. Now let's get into the episode.
And, there's a couple aspects that I want to address about this. And so the first one is when we're in survival mode, everything feels scary, right? So when our nervous system is shot and we are running on fumes, essentially, to get by, you might still be highly productive in making things happen, but the idea of change or growth or doing something different is just so triggering to the system. And again, it could be something great like taking a year off and going to travel and live on beaches and things like that. That sounds awesome when you're in a conscious, regulated state. But from a dysregulated state and when you're in survival mode, all you think about is the fear, right? You have these blinders on and your prefrontal cortex shuts down. And so you're not seeing big picture about what this can do for you and doors that can open and the freedom and joy you can feel from it. You just start to focus on the things that could go wrong. What if you take the time off and you don't do anything productive with it or you end up lazy? What if you lose your mojo and you don't want to you want to be a bum when you get back? What if you lose all your money for some weird reason or just something happens to you and you're gone? You start to come up with all these worst case scenarios and you become fixated on them. And survival mode is essentially designed to do that, right? When our body is so dysregulated and again in survival mode, it's purely operating from a place of how do I keep this person alive? Okay. It's not, I always say the nervous system doesn't really care if you're happy, you're healthy, you're growing. It only cares that you're safe and you're alive. Okay. So it's going to think, what do I need to do to keep this human being alive? And to your nervous system, it's doing the familiar. What have we been doing? What have we been doing that's kept them alive? And again, you could be stuck in a toxic relationship. You could be stuck in a job that you hate. You could be living in the most chaotic, unhealthy environment, eating the worst food. But because you've survived up to this point doing all these things, the nervous system's going to go, again, I know this works as far as keeping them alive. It's not healthy. It's not happy, but it works. We're just going to keep doing that. And so then you subconsciously keep making these same choices towards these old patterns and behaviors, okay? It doesn't matter how conscious you are in these moments. Your physiology, your subconscious will override. So you could have the thought process, oh, I'm going to go travel the world and quit my job and learn all these cool things that will get me further along in life. You could think, oh, I'm going to start eating healthy and start cutting out the processed foods. You could think, oh, there's this great job opportunity over there that might actually give me open more doors for me and make me feel like more aligned in the work I do and push me to grow. You could want to do all these things from a conscious space, but if your subconscious, if your nervous system isn't in a place where it has the capacity to initiate change and handle the unknown, if you will, it will override all these things in your head and it'll keep you stuck, right? So when it comes to change, I have a lot of people who will come to me where they're at a breaking point. Like, Mintu, I think I need to quit my job. This isn't necessarily the place where he's at, my one client. He was kind of there, but we got him out of burnout. But they're like, I think I need to give it up. Like, I can't do it anymore. And they want to give it, like, just want to throw caution to the wind and again, run away. And I always tell them, before we just give it all up, let's get you back to a balanced state. Let's get your nervous system back into regulation. And then from there, we can start to ask some real questions. Because right now, you're seeing through this lens of gray. Everything feels gray. Everything feels doom and gloom. You don't have an accurate portrayal of what life really is like because your nervous system is completely dysregulated, right? Your physiology is overriding your ability to have a clear perception of life. If we take the time to get you back to balance first, now your body feels more confident, it feels more settled, and now you can start to see through actual clear lenses. You can see the blue sky, you can see the sun, you can see the clouds, you can see the green grass. Everything's not gray anymore. Now you can actually get the full picture, and now we can ask, is this still in alignment or not? Right? Now we can ask, do we want to make a change or are we actually good where we are? Right? But the key in getting to there, the key into making these big decisions, and the key into overriding the fear when it comes to change is self-belief and self-trust, right? And that is, I'm learning the more I have this talk with people, a hard concept for people to really understand this whole self-trust thing, right? And the reality is, while it's about the nervous system from a practical standpoint of getting you out of survival mode into a more balanced state, the process of going from survival mode to balance is a process of building self-trust, okay? And when you have more self-trust, you feel more confident in your decisions. You feel more confident in your ability to take a leap of faith. You feel more confident in the fact that whatever happens, you're going to find your way through it, okay? So let's talk about how we end up in survival mode in the first place. Okay, so again, this is when your nervous system is highly dysregulated. Now, in my line of work with the people I work with, where that comes from most of the time is from self-abandonment and self-sacrifice. So most of us were raised in households where we were either performance was highly rewarded or we had to take care of those around us and put our needs last in order to keep the peace around the household. So there's kind of two instances that come to mind. So one could be, again, you were highly rewarded for being performance oriented. So how you performed in school, how you performed in sports, you know what I mean? Like, not that your parents didn't love you when you weren't doing those things, but there was extra praise or extra connection and love when you did accomplish things. So therefore, as a child, you are being reinforced that this is the way I feel more loved. So therefore, you build your entire identity around performing at a high level. The other side of it with self-abandonment, self-sacrifice is maybe you grew up in a household where the parents weren't as present. Maybe they were working a lot, not because they didn't love you, but just because they had to put food on the table and pay for the mortgage, so they were gone a lot. So you were required to either maybe take care of some other siblings, or maybe you had parents that were emotionally not very stable, and so you had to learn how to become the stable one in order to kind of keep the peace for the family. So therefore, again, reinforces this self-abandonment pattern. And this pattern of putting yourself last, right? Now, again, it all comes from a good place. None of it's because you're or trying to screw yourself up or anything like that. It's all coming from just learn behavioral patterns as kids, right? Now, how that translates as you get older is, again, you self-sacrifice as a way to remain productive and a way to make yourself valuable. So, simple example is you don't eat lunch at work because you need to be productive. You overextend yourself and take on more projects when you know you don't have the bandwidth. When you become fixated on fixing everyone else's problems and not your own. You know, when you would rather make everyone else happy versus pay attention to what you actually want to do, to keep the peace or because you can handle it or whatever story you've told yourself in your head, right? Now again, this is all coming from a good place. You're a good human with a good heart and you care about the people around you and you love them so much. But when we repeatedly do this, what essentially happens is that inner child or that inner voice that says, hey, I need a break, or hey, I need a sandwich, or hey, I would actually like to stay home and watch a movie, or hey, I would actually just like some quiet time with us. That voice inside you, every time you ignore it, you essentially tell it that it's not worthy. All right, guys, quick pause. If this episode is hitting home, I created a free burnout quiz that takes less than 2 minutes. It helps you pinpoint exactly how burnout shows up for you and what shifts you can take to start feeling happier, calmer, and more in control. Most executives tell me the results feel eerily accurate, so head over to the link in the show notes and you can take the quiz there. And you tell it that it doesn't matter. Again, compare it to a little kid. If your kid said to you, hey, mom, I'm hungry. And you said, oh, not now, honey. Like once I'm done all this, then you can have a sandwich. Once I'm done all this work, once you're done all your work, then you can have a sandwich. You're essentially telling that kid, well, okay, so then my hunger doesn't actually matter. My needs of being hungry don't actually matter. Or when you tell a kid, they say they need a hug. You go, okay, I'll hug you once mom's done working for the day, then I'll give you a hug. Again, reinforcing that mom's job is more important than her showing that she loves me, right? When we use a child as an example, it's easier to understand, but we essentially do that to ourselves every time we ignore our needs. But then what happens is we start to lose trust in ourselves, just like that kid starts to lose trust in you. So every time you tell that kid, well, I'm not going to hug you till I'm done working for the day, the kid goes, oh, well then when I'm feeling lonely and I need some love, I can't go to mom because she's not going to do it unless she's been productive for the day or unless she's been working for an entire day. She's not going to love me. And so now that kid loses trust in the fact that the mother, or us in this example, is their source of love. There's a lack of trust there. So we start to do that to ourselves every time we ignore our needs and every time we self-abandon. Your needs don't matter. Your need for rest doesn't matter. Your hunger, your need for connection, it doesn't matter. And so our subconscious starts to lose trust in ourselves. But we code it as, I can handle it. I'm just pushing through. I'm an adult. What's the big deal? But it's doing so much wiring on beneath the surface. And then when it comes to something like choosing to take the leap of faith and quit your job and start something new, or even getting into a relationship, or knowing if you should take the promotion, or knowing if you should, anything. We question ourselves so much, right? Or have you ever said to yourself, why is it so easy for me to give everyone else advice, but I can't listen to my own? Some of you need to be putting up your hands because I know what happens, okay? Right? I know I've done that. And it's because when it comes to me, I don't trust myself. It's not because the advice is any different. The advice is the same. And between me and my friend, we probably really trust each other. Because guess what? I have no problem showing up for other people. I have no problem validating her and her needs and what she needs because she's my friend and I love her. But for some reason with me, I can make all the excuses all the time. So then when it comes to not taking your own advice, well, the difference is my friend trusts me, so she knows that whatever I give her is coming from a loving place. Well, I've abandoned myself time and time again. And so I don't actually trust myself. So subconsciously, when it's like, well, why am I not listening to my own advice? That's why. Okay? Okay, if you're an executive who's craving more clarity, happiness, and a sense of real inner peace in your day-to-day, make sure you hit follow so you never miss an episode. This show is here to help you lead, succeed, and actually feel good while doing it.
And if something resonates today, give it a like and share it with someone else who could use a little bit more calm in their life too.
If you've gotten to a point in your life where you're more indecisive or you're not feeling as confident in yourself, you're not trusting yourself, you got to start with the basics, right? Like you have to start with the basics of knowing you can show up for yourself in those little moments. When I say I'm hungry, I feed myself. When I say I'm tired, I let myself have a nap. When I say I don't want to go somewhere, I don't force myself. When I say I'm done with this person, I'm done with them, right? You honor the truth of yourself in that moment, just like you would for a kid. And when you do that each time, it compounds and it creates evidence for your subconscious on the fact that you will show up for you. You will support you. You will be there for you no matter what. It doesn't matter why you're hungry. It doesn't matter if you've earned the right to eat. If you're hungry, I'm going to feed you. Right? And I know it sounds probably so trivial, like we're talking about food, we're talking about naps, but that's where it starts, right? But the thing is, most of us have been programmed to just live life this way that when it comes to bigger things, like again, a new job opportunity, a new relationship or whatever, we question ourselves so much. It's because we haven't even been able to do it on a basic level. And subconsciously, it's like, now you want to make a decision this big? Do you really know what you're doing? And it's not that you don't, it's just that there's a lack of inner belief. And the other thing about fear is that, like, I was saying this to a client last night, this one saying, I don't know where I originally heard it, but it said that faith and fear both require you to believe in something you can't see. So which are you gonna choose? And with fear, like, yes, can some of these things happen? Of course. Are they likely to happen? Maybe, probably not. And so then it's like, well, what do you want to put your energy into? The fact that this is going to work or the fact that it is? And one thing I've always found with people who find a way to win and people who are successful is that they feel the same fear that everyone else does, but they choose to move forward anyways. They don't let the fear cripple them, right? And if you're in my audience, you're probably not a person that fear cripples too much. You probably find a way to win. But you've probably done it in areas where it's for other people or for business and not necessarily for yourself. I know that's how it used to be for me. Like I was pretty fearless when it came to taking risks for that would better the company or for my friends or my family or whatever. Like I could always find ways to be brave in those situations. But when it was for me, I always questioned myself a little bit more. And again, we chop it up to different stories of feeling guilty or it's not as important or whatever the case is. But it always comes back to self-trust. And again, the key being that you trust in yourself enough that you know that no matter what happens, whether it plays out exactly as you want it to or not, you're going to find your way, right? So as I'm talking about this today, this could be in relation to you, again, maybe taking a big leap of faith and making a career change. It could be about maybe starting a new relationship or leaving one. It could be about choosing to live a more balanced and healthy 2026 where you're actually happy and you're not just drowning in your work and demands. It could be any one of those. And you might be asking yourself, like, can I actually have that? Can I actually make that work? And I'm here to tell you, of course you can. And I'm not blowing just smoke up your ass. Like, absolutely, you can have it. But it's about putting your body in a state where it knows that it can find its way and that it can trust and have faith and confidence in whatever you choose. So if you're trying to find your confidence again, if you're trying to find that self-trust again, start small. Right? Like it can just be like committing to yourself. What's one healthy habit, you could do every day? That could be going to bed at 10 p.m. That could be going for a 10-minute walk every day. That could be not looking at your phone in the mornings, right? And giving yourself 30 minutes of uninterrupted you time. Pick one thing that you stick to and show up for yourself every day. And I promise you, if you continue to do that over a long enough time horizon, you're going to make deposits into the self-trust bucket. And then eventually what's going to happen, there's going to be some bigger decisions that come along. And I'm not saying you won't feel scared or you won't question a little bit, but you're going to just have a different knowing of like, I'm going to figure this out. right? And especially in the department of things that are for you, things that are for your happiness and for your life and not just for the benefit of other people, you know? The first step is getting out of survival mode. The second step is just continuing to show up for yourself in that way so you know that you're not stuck with the way things are right now. And that's another thing when we're in survival mode is we can feel like there's no choice. We feel like this is all we have. There's this is just it. This is just the way that life is. But I promise you that's never the case. You always have a choice. And if you're not seeing the choices right now, then that means you need to come back to yourself. That means you need to come back to a regular, balanced body. The mindset can see the opportunity. The nervous system determines whether you can capitalize on it or not. Capitalize on it or not. That was a little fumble there. So if you're feeling like you can't see the opportunities, if you feel like you can't see what your choices are, that's a sign to just come back to yourself, to reconnect for yourself, to show up for yourself. And if you do that long enough, those opportunities, those paths, those choices will present themselves. I promise you. It happens every time. They will present themselves. But it's a matter of you just sticking to the plan, of you coming back home to you, of you honoring yourself and connecting with yourself and showing up for yourself no matter what, consistently enough for those opportunities to show up. So if you're feeling scared about something right now, don't feel like you need to figure out the answer. Cultivate enough self-trust within yourself and those answers will show up.